Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of the Our America channel. My name is Thornton Prayer. I'm a citizen, a patriot, and I care very deeply about our country. Today, I'd like to talk about identity. There's a lot of noise that's been going on in the last, 10, 15 years about identity politics and things of that nature. And I would like to expand upon that and kind of throw out some opinions for us to consider. See, one of the things I would say that a lot of us think that the identity of someone, good, bad, right or wrong, whatever we might think about them, is the entire truth of who that person is. If they are, a black person, a white person, someone who's Muslim, gay, or what have you, that's like a stamp or a label, and then we just kind of go boom, we put it on their forehead, and we think we know everything about them. And I'm going to say that living out that kind of perspective is a form of ignorance, actually. I'm going to say to you that you don't know. You don't know what someone is beyond some sort of label that has been slapped on them, or the label you may even slap on yourself. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I grew up in Alabama. We made fun of gay people. I made fun of gay people. I said everything you could say negative about gay people, all the pejoratives you can come up with. I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, kind of ground zero for a lot of gay people, right? So I began to meet gay people and talk to them, and I found out, these are human beings who have thoughts and feelings and hopes and dreams and aspirations just like anybody else. And for me to have the arrogance and the ignorance that I know everything about them was a lie. It was a joke. And so the whole thing that I see that's going on with the whole idea about identity politics is that everyone's getting it wrong. I understand why those of us who support the whole concept of identity politics want to support it is because I know what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish, is to validate the existence and the value of people of groups that have been historically marginalized. I get that. But at some point, I think that when those of us who believe these sorts of things, that we should support identity politics go a little too far, where we then say that, well, then this is the entirety of who you are as a person. You're a gay person or a black person, therefore you should be like this. And I can tell you, in case you haven't noticed, I'm a black person, African American, and I can tell you, every single black person I've met has been different from who I am and different from each other. We're not all the same. Same thing applies to white people, of course. The same thing applies to straight people, gay people, and all that sort of thing. But those of us who support the notion of identity politics, I think, like I said, go a little too far in that we think that, okay, we can define the totality of that person based on some aspect, which is an aspect, not the entirety of this person's life. Now, those of us on the right who hate identity politics, and let's be clear, there are a lot of people who hate identity politics, I think are mistaken, but in a different way. And the mistake is this, and that is that, okay, I know what you're like because of whatever, and it's like, no, you got to talk to people. Because the thing I found from a lot of people who are against identity politics are just as prone to label people and then are unwilling to actually try to understand people. So I can tell you, having had conversations with people who were right-wing, and to be blunt, racist, or homophobic, is that, they know everything about you, and they haven't even had a conversation with you. I mean, a conversation. They know everything about you and haven't said a word. And it's kind of like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because when I was growing up, and I'd hear people say and do all sorts of racist stuff, for example, I'd kind of go like, this person has this whole story about who I am, and I've never said a word to them. And so when I hear and see all the rhetoric and noise that's going on, on social media and in the news and on the talk shows and all that kind of stuff, and people are saying they're on full blast attacking this group or that group or whatever, that's living out another form of identity politics of saying like, oh, well, these people are like this, that, or whatever. And it's like, have you had a conversation with them? No, I don't need to know. I say, have you had a conversation with them? No, I already know anything about it. Have you had a heartfelt, open-minded, open-hearted conversation with someone of that supposed group that you don't like? And if you say the answer is no, I already know, then I'm going to say that, A, you're engaging in a form of identity politics just like people on the left that you don't like. And then are you willing to actually set that aside? Because, see, when people are running around doing this kind of stuff, being all tribalistic, and talking about identity politics this or identity politics that, it's actually a form of ignorance. I'm not saying that we should negate people of different groups and their existence and the validity of that. Let me be clear about that. But you can, let's say, acknowledge these things without going overboard one way or the other. You know, I've said to various people that, yes, am I a black person and whatever that means in terms of the historical and social context of the United States? Yeah, I am. But that doesn't mean that that's all that I am. And I've said to some people, you might as well say to me sometimes that I'm a man who happens to be black. You know, and I'm going to say the same thing, that if we want to do these sorts of things. Because on the flip side of that, I can easily argue, and this is what I would say about myself, that I'm also an American and I believe in the values of this country. And I believe in us holding ourselves accountable to those values and standing up for those things. When we're running around in our respective camps of one identity versus another, excuse me, that's when we run the risk of tearing ourselves and our country apart. And it's unnecessary. So when I hear people who are, let's say, I'm going to be kind of funny when I say, but engage in a lot of stinking thinking about who they think other people are without actually engaging with them, then you're not contributing, you're not helping things, you're actually contributing to things going sideways and going south. And if you want things to be better, if you want things to be better for all of us as a country, and you want to make America what it can be, then that would require that you look at someone's identity, whatever you might think it is, and then go beyond that. Start asking questions. Ask them where they're from, what they like, what do they like to do, their family history and things of that nature. I can tell you, for every person who I quote unquote thought I knew based on whatever their identity was, once I started talking to them, I found out things I would never have imagined. And so it's easy to run around thinking that you know something about somebody based on some supposed identity that you heard or that you can readily identify from some sort of physical characteristic or what have you. But that's just like opening a door. I mean, I assume most of us have heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Identity is basically a book cover. Open the book. Start learning. I found, and this is one of the things I kind of feel like a unicorn in a sense, and that is that when I set aside or move past what I think I know about somebody and start asking questions and start inquiring about who they are as an individual, I found out incredible things. And the most important thing, and I'll leave with this, is that if you dig deep enough, the vast majority of people, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, what have you, politically conservative, politically liberal, basically want the same thing. But we're living in this delusion, this state of ignorance, because we're running around slapping labels on each other and not being willing to move past that. I'll end here. I'd like to thank you for watching today's edition of the Our America channel. See you next time.